public comment for closed session items?
Nothing on email.
All right, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, trustee Jackson Miller,
Present.
trustee Donnelly,
Present.
trustee Gray,
Present.
trustee Edmondson,
Present.
and we heard from trustee Dickinson that he's running a bit late.
All right, the board will convene to close session.
Need to close it?
All right, welcome everybody. It's 6:30. We are happy to see you. May we have a call to order? I'd like to call open session to order. We can start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh. we-
If you can.
We don't-
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Hey, right here to the.
No, you're, yeah.
So it just gives me great pleasure to introduce you to one of our fourth grade students, Deacon McConville. Outstanding example of a New Brighton and a SUESD student. And I chatted with him a little bit yesterday about this and I was very impressed with how he carried himself. You know what to do, right, Deacon?
Please stand. Place your hand on your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Union Elementary School District mission statement. Staff, students, parents, and community help ensure that each child develops the skills and character necessary for a lifelong achievement and responsible citizenship in a diverse world.
Thanks so much for starting us off, Deacon. We have a certificate of recognition. We'll read it to you.
Our pledge and mission reader is fourth grade student Deacon McConville, and he is a great example of our Main Street student body. Deacon is in Miss Springy's 4th-5th combo class, which he really enjoys as he feels it's preparing him for a successful 5th grade. At school, math and writing are among his favorite subjects. In his free time, he likes to play baseball and go rock climbing at the gym. When he is older, he'd like to start a business with his cousins. So, thank you so much for being here, Deacon. We usually like to ask our pledge leaders a few questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to go. What kind of business you want to start with your cousins?
Like an ice cream store.
That would be epic. Very nice. Where would you have your ice cream store? I guess anywhere, right? Ice cream goes with everything. Very cool. All right, thanks, Deacon. Appreciate it.
Are you making ice cream right now? Oh, okay, get started.
But do you eat ice cream?
Yes.
What's your favorite flavor?
Cookie dough or mint.
Good call.
I was curious about rock climbing. Where did you get introduced to rock climbing?
Well, this year I'm doing it's like a program. So
Yeah.
That's where I started and I just like to climb.
Oh, nice. Like at the gym with ropes and
Yeah.
or bouldering.
Both.
Oh.
Do both, yeah.
That's very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And you play baseball? Are you playing Little League?
Uh,
SoCal Little League?
yeah.
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 I noticed you have some cool baseball socks.
Yeah.
Nice way to represent sport.
The Giants
Yeah.
fan too, right?
Yeah.
Not Dodgers. Hey, he told me he went to spring training too. It's been a lot of fun.
Nice. Wow. Cool.
And what positions do you play when you play baseball?
Second base, center field, and pitcher.
Wow.
Good, well-rounded baseball.
But you play other sports too, right?
Basketball, flag football, and soccer. Yeah.
Okay. So, writing, you like writing,
Yeah.
hand writing, not horse writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right, are you writing right now, any stories or
I
anything?
mostly just do it at school.
Okay, at school?
Yeah.
And what, just short stories at school or?
Well, we just finished doing informational slides, like doing slides about what we know.
What do you know?
I'm doing this.
That's great.
All right, I already asked a little bit, but I'm really curious if I can ask one more. What's your favorite thing about Main Street?
The principal.
Yeah.
And the teacher, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have some fun prizes if you wanted to come get a prize. And is this also?
Yeah, we have a gift certificate for the bookstore.
Yeah, there's this cool
Yeah.
bookstore,
Nice.
2 Birds and 41st, and then here you have your certificate.
Then
And then
Yeah,
you
feel free to
take-
grab some.
Of course, yeah. Why
Do you have
not?
any
nice.
siblings?
And then we'll
Thank
take
you.
a
Do you have any
picture.
siblings? Yeah, you want to grab some for them? Okay, and then we'll grab a picture with you. Okay. Maybe I'll do this.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. You slid in. Safe. Nice job.
Just like.
Come on, you dad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you? I'll send it. Melina, I'll take it on my phone and I'll send it to them and then. However you
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Can we do one more with Miss Brady?
Yeah.
Not Dodgers either. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Oh, thank you. Thanks for coming in. You made the night. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. 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 We're getting popular, Scott.
Oh, boy.
All right. Always fun. Yeah. right. All right, moving on to item 3B, may I have an adoption of the agenda?
The motion.
A
Can I-
second?
Can I add
Oh.
the one change?
I'm so sorry.
No,
I
it's
rushed
okay.
it.
No, I would like the board to consider adopting the agenda in table item 7E. It's a board policy that I would like to do a little bit more background work on and bring it back to you at the next board meeting.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
So I'll make the motion and removing 7E.
All right,
Get the motion.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the adoption or the agenda passes. Report out of closed session, there's nothing to report. May I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
A second? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, consent agenda passes. Public communications. We have a couple in-person communications. And before we call people up, I will just read a statement. Members of the audience are welcome to address the Board of Trustees during public communications regarding items not listed on this agenda. For items not on the agenda, we request you fill out one of the forms available at the sign-in register. 3 minutes may be allotted to each speaker and a maximum of 20 for each subject matter. The trustees cannot take action on these matters unless such matters are placed on a future agenda item according to law. If the agenda is on the item, you will have the opportunity to speak at the time of the agenda. Please address the board president. These proceedings are video recorded. All right, first up, we have Marilyn. Marilyn Garrett.
As you know, I come here to advocate for children's health and a healthy environment. And we've recently had this added impact of the toxicity of the Moss Landing fire lithium battery contamination that's contaminating the solid bowl of the country. And lithium batteries, I keep learning more and more. There is some excellent coverage in both the Aptos Times and the SoCal Times by the editor John D. Gumbs, talking about the fire and quoting our elected representatives, etc. So here's a little bit of her article. Perplexing incidents. According to the U.S. Fire Administration, quote, fires have become one of the most challenging and perplexing incidents of the fire for the fire service in recent years, unquote. With lithium batteries used in cell phones, laptops, tablets, scooters, golf carts, electric vehicles, electric bikes, power tools, and children's toys, there have been at least 25,000 lithium battery fires nationwide in the past 5 years, according to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. Now, I bring this up because the schools, all school districts, have all this Wi-Fi, laptops, cell phones, etc. And I don't know if you've had any fires yet, but this is a huge problem. In just the last few days, I heard of electric school buses catching on fire and harming children. So there needs to be a look at this and say, wait a minute, if this is a problem, we need to start addressing it and removing it. The other paper is The Good Times, and there's an article by Todd Gill, and many in the county, all over the county, experience metallic taste in their mouth. A friend of mine with asthma who lives within a mile of the Moss Landing plant ended up in the hospital. This lot of illnesses, and a website is called the foghornexpress.com. That is Renette Senham's website, and look under lithium batteries. She has a whole history and shows the toxic chemicals. And so the Good Times trace evidence, this article.
Marilyn, that's our time. Thank you very much for the
Yeah,
information.
thank you. I
Thank
hope
you.
you look into this. This is very worrisome. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, is it Gail?
Right.
Yes.
I'm talking about that similar subject. Smart meters, lithium batteries, electric cars, they're all catching fire. The smart meter is connected to every wire in your house. And in LA, these things caught the whole house on fire. According to Renette Senham, she has titled this last Substack, Burning Batteries, the Toxic Truth Behind Our Green Energy Illusion. In 2024 alone, fire departments in New York City and San Francisco reported handling over 660 fires involving lithium ion batteries. These aren't just small contained incidents. We're talking about fires that engulf entire homes, electric vehicles that become rolling torches, and even massive storage facilities that threaten entire communities. Why do these fires rage uncontrollably, sometimes for weeks? Because they produce their own oxygen. Once the battery goes into thermal runaway, it creates its own oxygen from the chemical reaction. And she talks about the Moss Landing facility being near the fragile Monterey Bay Aquarium and many legacy dairy ranches and organic farms. According to the most recent data available, there's been 232 confirmed cases of Tesla vehicle fires as of January 2025. I believe in France, they crashed a whole fleet of electric buses because they just kept patching each other on fire. And in the northern Scandinavian countries, they just won't function during winter. Batteries just don't function. So smart meters are not so smart after all because people die in these fires. They engulf the home so fast. And so regarding smart meters and your phones, we're all dealing with high frequency microwave radiation. If you go to Barry Trower, Barrie, Trower, like tower with an R, he's a retired British Royal Navy microwave weapons expert. And he came out of retirement to warn people about this technology. And anywhere you carry your smartphone, people are developing cancer, thyroid, colorectal, testicular, brain tumors, neuroacoustic tumors. So it's best to get something to protect your body. And these kids using the microwave, technology in school is damaging their brains and their eyes because they have a thinner skull. Changing the subject to vaccine exemptions. A lot of the things we say, the words we use today don't really mean what they say. Like safe and effective.
You have about 10 seconds.
Safe and effective might mean murder. Because vaccine exemptions are, why is all of Congress exempt? All of congressional staff, House and Senate, 6,000 White House employees, 2,500 Pfizer employees, 1,500 Moderna employees, 120,000 Johnson & Johnson employees, 15,000 CDC employees, 14,000 FDA employees. Shouldn't they be the first in line if they're forcing you to get this vaccine and children? Really, vaccines mean
That's our time. Thank you for the information.
Thank you. Thank you.
depopulation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's in person. Anything on email?
Nothing on email.
All right. Moving on to standing reports.
Good public comments.
Yes, yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries. Board members and superintendents. Enrique Domo, I'm just giving you guys a little update on what time did you start me? Sorry.
Thank you for keeping me on.
Yeah,
point.
no problem. I just want to give you updates on our sports right now. Our flag football team starts this Friday at J Street Park at 3:45. It's our 6th, 7th grade versus Mission Hill. We have Miss Lyon, her son plays on the team. It's being coached by our district employee, Randy Potes. Our 8th grade, our 8th grade boys and our girls will be playing at Mission Hill. And that's being coached by Dwight Lowry and Daryl Williams from the SoCal High School. At our flag football game at Jade Street Park, we need someone to flip the coin. So if any of you want to volunteer, email me, please. Wrestling's being coached by district employee Jimmy Walker. Our volleyball starts at 4:15 versus PCS Tuesday. And Police Chief Sarah Ryan will be doing the first serve. So if you guys want to come check that out, and then we have 7 more games. So if any of you know how to serve, come let me know and I'll get you on there. Our 8th grade volleyball is being coached by Jen Furman, who's the director of Main Beach Club. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. 7th grade is being coached by our district employee, Andreas Zapacosta. Our 6th grade being coached by our counselor at New Brighton Middle School, Elise Mainkosh. And I invite all of you to our games. Email me if you're interested. And the field, I cannot wait till we get that field. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is this listed on the website?
It's weekly on our website, Viking Vibes, but if you want to email me because you want to do the coin toss, or you want to do the first serve, or you want to come to our wrestling meet, which is next
Do we
Wednesday.
wrestle too?
We have wrestling. It's at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
So if you're interested, let me know.
Oh, definitely. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All right, thanks for that. Now moving on to standing reports.
Yes.
Would you like to start us off?
Sure, I'd love to. So I wanted to say a big shout out to all of our great school counselors. One was mentioned earlier, but We have amazing school counselors, two at New Brighton, Brian Koch and Vanessa Eden, and our elementary counselors. We have Sue Robinson at Santa Cruz Gardens and Jessica Hassani at Soquel Elementary. And of course, we have Betsy Crawford at Main Street, and they're just amazing. And I know we do Employee Appreciation Week, so while we don't do like an official event or anything, just wanted to acknowledge them during National School Counselor Week and thank them for all that they do for our students and families. Lots of progress on Measure P content, but you'll hear lots about that later in the agenda tonight. But I'm just very proud of all the efforts that's going on to making immediate steps with that. I was able to attend the Superintendent Symposium, the Access Superintendent Symposium last week, and want to thank the board for supporting that process. Great content, but the best part was just being there with the other superintendents from Santa Cruz County. I'm just really honored to be a part of that very collaborative group. We had our most recent community voice gathering last week at Soquel Elementary. Thank you, Ariel, for attending that. While the numbers were not high, the engagement was, and we still have 2 more of those events coming up at New Brighton and Main Street. Our parent survey is up to 350 parents submitting their responses to that, so that's going to form our LCAPs. So I really appreciate all the parents who have put up with my constant reminders and filled that out. And lastly, I just want to continue to offer our district support of all communities, including the immigrant community and the LGBTQ+ community. There's obviously, these have been very trying times for those communities with lots of fear. And we are committed to doing everything that's within our power to support those communities. All for me.
Thank you. Assistant Superintendent. Great, yes, thank you. So lots going on in the ed services world, but I'll just limit it to a few items that the board might be interested in. The first is that My Job Alike group, the Professional Learning Network, PLN at the county level. We meet together every month to talk about really important topical things. And the one that we were talking about most recently in detail was Senate Bill 114. And that is regarding required reading problem screening for students in K-2, and which offerings were approved by the state of California and which were not. Some that were approved by the state of California are not in more than one language, interestingly enough. So it really limits the possibilities for us. So we're studying those really deeply. There is a legal requirement for us to start that next year. So that's one of the things that you'll be hearing more about as we move forward. We're working really hard on that LCAP mid-year update for you, which will come to the next board meeting. It is like a mini LCAP. So we will be going through all of the metrics and all of the actions and services from the larger LCAP. None of it will be unfamiliar because we do so many updates, but it will be a comprehensive plan and we're excited to share it. One of the other things that you would want to know is that the California dashboard now has one more indicator on it. I know we talked about the dashboard not too long ago, and there's lots of indicators to look at, but there's one more, and it's called a growth indicator. It is now available for public view. So if you go onto this site, kind of how I showed you how to navigate that site, there's a few more boxes that are open, and it'll say growth on them. So it'll be like academic growth, and then there'll be math growth and English language arts growth and those kinds of things. And you'll be able to see by group with arrows that go up or down as if we're in like a good space, like it's a typical growth, or if it's more than typical or less than typical. So just something to kind of have on your radar, because I'm sure going to share you some information about that soon. Just one more thing that I wanted to share with you is that from my PLN group, we started a county TK collaborative planning team, because we've got TK in schools now, and our people and our little people and our big people need a lot of support with that. And so that planning team and I are talking about how to support our families, our staff, and our students as we bring these younger kids into school with all just the right things. So we're talking about establishing best practices for UTK programs, creating frameworks for building and maintaining effective TKs, developing a common understanding of the P through 3 continuum, which means preschool through 3rd grade, and then educator pathways. So that's been really exciting for us lately. Great for me today. Thank you.
Okay, so we did our paper screening of the contractors for the field project. It looked they've all looked really good. We're gonna start interviews tomorrow and we'll continue interviews on Monday. So we can settle on a contractor to get the field rolling. Plans are almost approved with DSA. We should be hearing back at any time now. So that's great too. So everything's moving quickly. So they like to hear that. I attended the Measure P Design Committee, which is really nice because we get a jump start of, starting to plan, what order we're gonna do things and how we're gonna roll things out. So that's also super exciting. Myself and Pam provided childcare at our community voice gathering.
Thank you.
We did. It was really fun. We did that at Santa Cruz Gardens. So we did crafts and everything with the kids. We made pumpkins. So one of the students taught us how to make pumpkins out of pipe cleaners, which was really exciting. So we had fun doing that and went to the governor's budget presentation at the COE. I didn't go to the one in Sacramento, but I did go.
Great, thank you. Would it be okay if we close the door? Is anyone else cold in here? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All
Well, you're not cold.
right.
You guys must be cold. Yeah.
All right, 6B, are there items from CSEA?
Enrique Domo, CSCA Union President, chapter 388. Want to say thank you for being flexible and postponing our negotiations. Friday, we had some people out, you had some people out, so we're glad that we can make it happen, I think, February 12th. The Summer Assistance Program, I want to thank you for continuing that program. A lot of us really enjoy it. I'm not sure if you are familiar with this program at all, but email me and I'll email about it. You can email Allison. But also I was maybe asking if I have permission or you can send an email out to the CSC members that the deadline is coming up to sign up for the Summer Assistance Program. Because we obviously want, I think last year a couple people maybe missed it and they tried to get on and you missed the deadline, you missed the deadline. So if you want me to send one out, you can send one out for public perspective.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about it, but yeah, I'll write that down.
Fantastic, and thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Items from SEA.
Let's have it. Main Street. Just a little update from each of the schools and then a little SEA update. Main Street recently wrapped up Kindness Week. Spirit Weekend kicked off its readathon fundraising. Students had a fantastic time engaging in various kindness activities and dressing up for the Spirit Days. Additionally, as part of their social studies curriculum on Santa Cruz County, third grade classes will be visiting SoCal Village to explore key historical sites. These include the historical plaque commemorating the first woman to vote in the U.S. presidential election, Erie Lagoon Wetlands, and the Santa Cruz Mission, where students will learn about the history and culture of the Ohlone people, the first inhabitants of what is now Santa Cruz County. For SoCal Elementary, SoCal Elementary had a successful kindness week alongside parent conferences. Staff and families continue to be educated on immigration concerns, fostering a more informed and supportive school community. The school is also celebrating the success of its readathon, which met its fundraising goals. Santa Cruz Gardens, at Santa Cruz Gardens, kindness and community giving were in full swing. One of our third grade students organized a community garage and bake sale, raising an impressive $2,300 to support wildfire relief efforts in Southern California. SCG also participated in the Great Kindness Week, celebrating with 5 themed Spirit Days and creating a massive paper chain listing acts of kindness performed by students. And at New Brighton Middle School, it's actively participating in the Great Kindness Challenge, promoting a culture of kindness and positive interactions among students. Last week, the 8th graders met with counselors from SoCal High School to begin the course selection process for their transition to high school next year. And for SEA as a whole, SEA is also pleased to report that we've joined the We Can't Wait Power of Localness movement that CTA recently launched. We're excited to collaborate with other districts, large and small, to advocate for systemic change to the way education is funded in California. We encourage all members of our school district community to learn more about the We Can't Wait Power of Localness movement, as we hope to have the community support and advocacy for adequate staffing, competitive pay, and sustainable schools statewide. More information can be found on CTA's website or by speaking with representatives from the union.
Thank you for that thorough update. 60 items from trustees.
I have a quick update. I went to the 2 Community Voices events that we had. And like Scott said, they were on the smaller attendance side, but I thought the discussions were really, really robust, especially at Santa Cruz Gardens. I think we had 10 or so families, and I mean, we would have kept going. It seemed that, so just want to thank people for coming out and taking the time to get some of their questions answered. Something that was interesting at both sessions, there was a lot of interest in the questions around funding and enrollment, so that definitely seems to be on times. Thank you, Scott, for leading those.
Yes, good times.
Thanks. Others?
Well, I'll start off. Thanks for posting the artwork up on the wall. I like the cootie catchers. Now, what school?
Those are, it's all from Main Street.
Oh, Main Street, okay.
Main Street names.
That's a lot of color. And I attended the Measure P Design meeting as well and got some great plans coming up. That's it.
All right. I love going down the line, and I know when it's when it's my turn, right? I also got to attend the community voice gathering at Santa Cruz Gardens. Thank you, Ariel. You described it well. I really like the video presentation and how it gave folks kind of some food for thought. It was kind of a nice starting point for the conversation. So that was really neat the way each division presented something, and it's funny and fun too, which is nice. It adds a nice element to the gathering. So that was great. Loved that I got to swing by Ellie's yard and bake sale at Santa Cruz Gardens. Very, very cool. Not only to have a student have the great idea to do something so kind of meaningful for people needing fire relief and funding, but also then just seeing the way our staff and the whole neighborhood, I mean, this would happen at any of our sites, but again, like a kid had a great idea and like everyone rallied around it, and that's absolutely who we are. So that was awesome. And the design team meeting, yeah, it's great to be on that team, and we're just getting started, but thank you for including board voice at that. And of course, we'll hear more as a team at the board table. Great.
Cool. I can't wait to hear more about the design meeting. Honestly, that's pretty exciting. I rode my bike, saw the fire thing. I thought it was great. It was neat turnout. So many people donated, and you know, what a cool thing. That's it for me.
Great. Not much to report. I'm looking forward to the voice gatherings coming up. All right. Presentation, information and discussion items. Moving on to Principal Broadhurst. And then Main Street Elementary School.
All right.
Uh-oh, it's in the bag.
Sorry, I don't have these for everybody, but I do know something for the board of trustees. No such thing as a free lunch, but there is a free coffee.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And,
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
I've been told of the time limit for the presentation, so I'm gonna try to keep it to 2 hours.
Perfect.
Does it have great space on? No.
I know. This is at least worth an extra half an hour.
Oh, yeah.
You got till
Maybe
10.
we can put some coffee in there. We're ready.
I don't normally wear a hat, but I did want to represent the Main Street here and.
All right.
Normal rocks a hat, but I didn't. But,
Yeah.
anyway, I'm gonna keep it on. And you know, I could be on a beach in Mexico. I could be looking at the stars in a national park. But I got really lucky and got invited to go back to Main Street. And so, you know, with great pleasure that I'm back here tonight. I remember the last time I was here, I didn't think I'd be here again giving a presentation. And I'm happy to be here. Got some support from the site, and didn't know that Callie was going to be here tonight also. But part of the surprise is that Sarah Weber and Melina Reich are presenting. And you are up. Okay. With all seriousness, I am happy to be here. I had a conversation with Scott earlier on in the earth saying, you know, I think I really missed the adrenaline of being a principal. And so I'm having a great time being back at Main Street. I say being back because I actually was there for 2 years, 14 years ago as a principal. And it's great to go back and see some of the staff that were there 14 years ago, reconnect, and then connect with all the new staff. And we have a really dedicated staff and families that will bend over backwards and go the extra mile to help Main Street be better. And just a great group of students. I was fortunate enough to be the art teacher there this time last year. I was teaching kindergarten, TK through 5th grade art. And I didn't know I was going to be doing that until about 2 or 3 weeks beforehand. And it turned out to be another blessing because I got to know all the students and I got to work with all the staff as colleagues. I thought I might be doing something like some middle school Spanish in come fall, but there was a need to help out at Main Street. And I said, okay, let me see if I can unretire. And I thought trying to get in touch with, Cal Stores was going to be a nightmare, but it was super easy. I unretired and here I am. And for those of you, I hope you already know that I'm committed for at least one more year after this year. So I'm happy about that. Anyway, let's talk a little flavor of Main Street. See if this thing works. Okay. All right. I have to give acknowledgement here to Jessica because these slides, and I told her I lifted the slides from a presentation that she's done. I wanted to give you a flavor of Main Street's testing data. And I'll give you a flavor of some other things too, but I wanted to start out here because I want you to look at, this is ELA and math. ELA on the left, math data on the right, and this is from the CAS testing that happens every spring. So we've got the state results here. We've got district CAS, ELA and math, and then we've got Main Street ELA and math. And I'd like to point out that if you look at the numbers, Main Street is performing quite well. Still, we have improvements that we can make. We're always looking to serve our students and our families better. But our data, when you compare it to the state data and county data, it looks very favorable. And the only negative thing about that is I can't take credit for it because it happened before my watch. This happened a year ago. So kudos to the staff who worked there prior to my arrival. So that was the ELA in math. Obviously, math scores historically have always lagged behind English language arts scores, and we are addressing that state level, county level. Today, I was at the COE for a second day of math workshop, and we've got math task force work happening in the district that Jessica and Scott are on, as well as principals and staff. But I'm happy to see that we're over 50% of students who are on grade level or advanced in grade level, and if you look at the state, it's 35%. The science, which for us, it's only our 5th grade students. For the district, it's 5th and 8th grade students, and then for the state, it's 5th, 8th, and 11th graders. And if you look at the state, that 30% or 31%, if you round up, are on grade level or advanced. At Main Street, our 5th graders, we have 63%. That's double the state of our students who are performing on or above grade level. And even though only the 5th graders take that test, obviously that starts in TK, science TK all the way up. And then 5th graders, they get to take the science test. So I just wanted to start out and acknowledge the great work that's being done already at Main Street. And if those numbers go down this year, I'm not coming next year.
Way to do it.
I'm sorry about this. This is not that attractive a slide. There's a lot of numbers here. But I wanted to look at the iReady math usage from the beginning of the school year to last week when I had to put this presentation together. And one of the things that I am trying to encourage, and teachers are also encouraging on board, is using the iReady math pathway, which is every student who does the iReady math diagnostic. From that diagnostic, depending on how they answer the questions, they get a pathway. And excuse me if I'm telling you something you already know, because I just want to make sure that you understand. So one of the tools in addressing or improving math scores, I feel, is using the iReady math pathway. So we've been looking at that, and I was looking at this earlier, and I actually looked at the kindergarten where it said 35 out of 70 students were using instruction. There must be something wrong, because I was actually looking at the kindergarten classes, and all kindergarten students are, I can see they've all been in and have all been using iReady. So we're starting at kinder, and we are pushing the iReady math pathway as one of those strategies to help increase math knowledge. And we've had an iReady math PD. I think some of the other elementary sites are also taking advantage of that. And I just, if students are involved 30 to 49 minutes a week, and they're passing the math lessons, which are at their level, they should make gains in their math knowledge. And it'll never replace a classroom teacher, but I think it's another tool in addition to the classroom teacher to help support math learning. So I'm really happy that we have that. I'm really happy to promote it and engage our staff and students in that. And also letting the parents know that you can access this at home too. Okay, all right. I was told that, you know, the board likes to get some data. So there's a lot of data in these first slides. And I'm happy to talk about the attendance rates, which I'm sure Scott has been telling you about, is something that's on the up in the district. And so through December, we were up 1.6% in attendance. From August to December, sorry, this was for December, we were up 1.6% in the month of December. This was August to December, which had gone up 1.4%. And then January attendance rates, I was hoping would go up, but I just found out they went down 1.8, I think it was. And I just found that out after I put the slide together. And so I'll take a look at that and see what's going on. I guess we were going up, and you know, everything comes down or goes around. I just wanted to point out that I've been communicating about the importance of attendance in the weekly newsletters. If you're seeing those, you'll see that, and reporting on that. Trying to make sure parents can take advantage of the independent study, which is, I think, really helped with the attendance rate this year. So I don't think that was in effect when I was the principal at Santa Cruz Gardens. So it's been a great help. We, myself, Sarah, and our counselor, Betsy Crawford, have every 2 weeks we have attendance meetings and going through protocols to connect with families and try to figure out what kind of support they need if they need to improve attendance rates. And all this ties into, you're familiar with the dashboard and the chronic absenteeism, which is, the needle is moving in the right direction, and I think it'll continue to move in the direction it's going, which is the right way. Unfortunately, well, I don't know if it's unfortunately, but we do have our first SOLVE meeting coming up, because we do have a family that we're concerned about. We've reached out multiple times to try to support the family. And in the conversation, it's not like a browbeating, finger wagging conversation. It's like, how can we help you? How can we give you more support? So the attendance meetings have been going really well. And also, I just started recently handing out awards. So we had, at our last assembly, we had 36 students who haven't missed a day of school from August until I think it was January 29th. Also just 31st, last Friday, sorry. And we had 36 students, and I thought, oh, okay, that's better than no students with perfect attendance. And so we selected 3 of those 36. Just I said, you know, Google, give me 3 numbers between 1 and 36. Spat 3 numbers out. Got those students a gift certificate to the Ugly Mug. We like to support the Ugly Mug, and so at the next assembly, we'll do the same thing again. However, now everybody who's been in school from the last assembly to the next assembly is going to be entered in that draw. So everybody has a chance. And we're looking forward to continuing to increase attendance. And as I said, I need to touch base with you, Scott, about the decrease and how we can.
Some people will get short up with that independent study. I mean, that was fresh data, so still some reconciliation now.
Okay, there's
Yeah.
still some reconciliation. You mentioned counseling before. This is the National Counseling Week. So I asked Betsy Crawford, who does a fantastic job meeting with students, meeting with families, and supporting staff at our site too. Tell me a little bit about your numbers with counseling. So she included this slide. This actually numbers of students seen is not correct. This should actually say number of contacts. So for example, she's had 55 contacts with first grade students. Now, look, that doesn't mean 55 different first grade students. It could be multiple contacts with one student. But in total, she's had 363 contacts with students this year. She's got 70 lessons on socio-emotional learning that she's presented with various topics over here. She's got counseling groups. And gosh, 1988, when I started, we would never see a counselor in a school, or I don't think we did. And then they started to come in and we were sharing them here and there, and one day a week, and now we have full-time counselors, which I just think is you probably think, well, how do we get by without them? And they're just part of the everyday fabric of our school staff. And I worked with Betsy when she was an intern at New Brighton, and then I'm so happy that she stayed on with the district and is providing counseling services at Main Street Elementary. Main Street Parent Survey. Jessica again helped me put this together early on in the year because I wanted to get a feel for how parents were perceiving me, their school, their child's experience. We had, I think, about 55 responses, which is, I'm hoping when I put it out again and I'll get more responses. I did keep hammering it away to the point where they probably say, like, I'm not going to do it because he keeps asking me.
It's a fine line.
But I will say that the purple is a 5 response, and 5 would be like most satisfied, and then 1 would be somewhat least satisfied. And so the purple and or mauve, is that, I don't know what you call that, pinkish. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And so in the responses, most of it has been favorable. And then the mustard color, that would be like a 1. So sometimes the people who chose the lesser or the less favorable responses did provide their name, so I could connect with them and see how we can make that better. But most of the ones who had 1s were submitted anonymously, which is I'll have to talk to you about that, how we can address that, because I'd like to address it. I've no problem getting a 1 in some category, but I think all the slides are here. There's like 7 slides, but your child feels safe at school. I would say that we've got 91% is, if you count the 4s and the 5s. That's a favorable response. Your child is learning appropriate grade level skills. That's another 91% of people are in agreement with that. Okay. You feel included as part of the Main Street community. You know, we've got 85% are feeling included. And so this is actually the first time I've actually done a survey, and I got help from Jessica on it. I'll be sending it out again and then looking to see when I send out the next one, be comparing and also trying to figure out a way that those people who maybe aren't as happy as we'd like them to be can we can have a dialogue about that, so we can make them feel more included at school, or make the principal more accessible to them. I like to think I am accessible, but some people don't think I am. Anyway, so we are listening to our community and responding to that. We just recently, last couple of weeks, I think it was, got the California Healthy Kids survey back. So I wanted to take a look at that, and I've just got some selected items. And then I looked at also 2 years ago. This is something that our 5th graders do and the 7th graders do here in our district. And so the numbers aren't too dissimilar. Down at the bottom where there's actually 2 numbers, I just wanted to make sure that, for example, on teachers, adults make it clear bullying is not allowed, where it says 81 and 15, 81% is all of the time and 15% is most of the time. So again, the numbers, I mean, they could be higher, but they are quite high. Interestingly enough, it's exactly the same 3 teachers, just different. Those, the 22, 23 students, they'd be now what, 7th graders? And here 24, 25 is our 5th graders. But I was thinking, oh, it's exactly the same 3 teachers, probably not doing things too dissimilar. Then it got me thinking about the sample that's taking the test. So, but anyway, I just want you to know we are paying attention to that and looking into it. I just wanted to throw a few things together about what are we doing in the classroom. So when I go around and visit the classrooms, I see a lot of active learning. I see a lot of engaged learning. I see a lot of student-to-student collaboration. And that's something that I think we can all agree. That's what creates engaging classrooms, where there's collaboration, there's discussion going on, and there's listening and critiquing other people's work. I was in a 4th grade classroom yesterday, and the door was open as I walked by, so I went in, and I said to the teacher, I said, my goodness, this is what you need parents to see. This is what you need the board of trustees to see. We had students, they're all on the Chromebook, and they're all working on a piece of writing composition. And I could hear the teacher giving some instruction to a student, but I looked around and all the students were beavering away on the keyboard, and I just made me feel really, proud, and I just wish everybody could see that. And I made sure that the teacher knew that what I was observing, and then I said it's okay for me to talk to the students, and I just said, your parents, your families would be so proud if they could come in here right now and see the level of engagement. And it's just absolutely amazing to see our young, and this was a 4th grade class, young students, not that old, 9, 10 years old, working on their written composition. Some of them even like, oh, you've definitely done some home row work. You know, I didn't learn till I was like late 20s, early 30s. And but just heartwarming to see our students. And obviously we do a lot of social, emotional work. If you visit classrooms in the morning, you might see the students getting ready for the day with a mindful moment. Or you might see them coming back from recess or lunch break, taking a mindful moment to get them back into the frame of mind we need them to be in for learning. And we've got a great ELOP enrichment program, thanks to the work from again, Jessica and then Ilana Lowe at our side. I just put up a sampling of some of the classes that we've been able to offer. And I'm really excited to see our Mandy Lopez along with I think Janelle Carnegie and some other staff are doing Monsters Inc. And I said to her, okay, what's your process when you need to make some cuts? Because you've got to be able to, because are you going to be able to keep close to 100, I think, close to 100 students? Because I said, it'll come to me. You just got to be sure if you're making, cuts when people are trying apple pots, that you have a process that is, transparent. And she came to me a day or two ago and said, I didn't make any cuts. I'm like, thank you. She found some extra, or made some extra monsters, extra pots, and so I think that's awesome because it's not nice when you have to try out for a sports team, and unfortunately you don't make it. You can't carry 100 on a volleyball team. But I'm very excited to see this production, and we'll make sure we send you an invite.
Please.
We're going to try to do it at New Brighton. I've talked to Christina. I sent Christina an email. I haven't heard back from her yet. So I think that's obviously the MU room at Main Street is great, but I think the PAC at New Brighton is greater. You can have more people in there. There's more space on the stage. There's more backstage space. The lighting is better. The acoustics are better. So we're really looking forward to that. And, as I...
What does the ELOP stand for?
Okay, extended learning opportunities. Did I get that right?
Expanded learning
Did I
opportunity
say
program.
expanded? I said extended. Sorry.
Okay, very close.
Expanded learning opportunities program, which was
Okay, thank you.
monies that came from the state post-COVID. If you want to add anything to that, Jessica, with the idea of...
I think you're doing great.
Okay. And, I realized after I put the slide together, there's some things I forgot to put in there. Like, for example, I wanted to talk about how great it's been to have the support and work with the Friends of Main Street, our parent, what you used to call a PTA, I suppose. And I've really enjoyed supporting them and working with them. We had an auction night earlier on in the year. We've had a couple of movie nights. They've sponsored the readathon that's coming to an end this week, and there'll be the walkathon. I think there's another mini type auction event, the Art and Soul event. And just always like to say that those organizations help provide some of the bells and whistles that make the students' experience even better. We had a great event that was put on by Janelle Carnegie, who's our campus supervisor, the Ruby Bridges Walk. I think you may have seen some video of that, which I think will become a bigger event every year. We'll definitely be doing it again next year. And I've got a feeling that some of the other schools in the district will join in. Janelle Carnegie, again, organizes the Peace Pals, which is some of the older students helping monitor break time for the younger students and helping conflict resolution. She just started the safety patrol where, a couple of students outside with their high visibility vest on and a big old stop sign, helping make sure that the younger students can leave safely, and just a great experience for the upper grade students to show some leadership. We hand out happy herons like they're going out of style. Again, that's basically for rewarding respectful, responsible, honest, or caring behavior, which is the Main Street way. And we've been having a monthly assembly where we pump up whatever the value is that we want to highlight, and like, for example, between now and the end of February, we're handing out happy herons and raffle tickets for cooperative actions or actions that show cooperation, as well as the Main Street way of respectful, responsible, honest, and caring. And I believe that's it. I may have missed some things out, but you know, I'm really enjoying being back. It's a little different when you've been retired. And I thank you know, those of you who are at my retirement would have heard me say, you know, this district has put a roof over my head, shirt on my back, and food on my table since 1988. And then I had to get a new roof. So now I'm back, so the district is providing a new roof over my head. I had to I got one of those letters from the insurance saying, we're going to cancel your insurance because your roof is discolored and deteriorating, but didn't have any problems. Too much information. Sorry. But yeah, the district continues to provide a new roof over my head, and I'm happy for the opportunity and glad to be on for at least one more year. And who knows after that. So anyway, enjoy your mug. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
For shedding the light. Yeah. Have a lot of, and welcome back too.
Question?
Yeah, well, I have some comments. I taught elementary school, Conroe Valley School, but I retired in 2000. And what's up here on collaboration, interactive journals, but the technology of wireless microwave radiation is really a health hazard. If you could imagine people smoking, you could see it and smell it. Well, this is secondhand radiation. And I have this one's in Spanish, but it's so well documented on causing headaches, insomnia, learning disability, cellular stress and damage. And so when you talk about the children typing and how great that is and their smartphone, all I can think is this is really toxic.
Yeah. Well, we don't have smartphones. They're working on Chromebooks. But I have heard you talk before, and yeah, I appreciate
And
your.
there is a group, Citizens for Safe Technology, where it's plugged in, or cellphonetaskforce.org. But to just proceed with something that's so dangerous is just really disturbing to me. Because for children to learn, we want a healthy environment.
Thank you, Marilyn. Are there any other comments on Principal Broadhurst's presentation tonight?
I will say this, we're not doing anything that the California Department of Education would not allow us to do.
Yes.
I'll just jump in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do want to recognize that Sarah and Melina came out tonight.
Yes.
I wonder why they did this, just to support. People we have. So
Like the office just follows you. Like the office just follows you.
Well, I do appreciate working with them, and I'll tell you this, sometimes you hear like, I'm afraid to go to the office, not at Main Street. I haven't heard that at Main Street, because they're very welcoming, very student-centered, and obviously, when the adults come in, they're the face of Main Street because they're the first people they meet, so really happy to be working with both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Same.
Okay.
I just want to thank you for that presentation. The numbers are really great. And I think the thing that I appreciate most is the feeling that you guys bring. Main Street just has such a wonderful feel, and that little anecdote about including 100 kids in the play.
Yeah.
I mean, that feels like
Oh,
the
yeah.
Main Street way. That's very,
Oh,
very
thanks
sweet.
Thanks for picking
That's
up on that.
Yeah.
in the production.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's
Yeah.
100 students going there. Some of them might be backstage because some of them don't want to be on stage, but it's close to 100 people who are there every Friday afternoon. Working
Wow.
on it. I see them reading lines and gosh, I'm like, damn, cuts are hard on an elementary, cuts are hard on anybody. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad we don't have to do that. Anyway, you're more than welcome, as you know, to come to Main Street anytime you want to, you know. Open invitation.
Thank you.
Thank
great.
you. So
Yeah.
much exciting stuff happening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And thank you guys for coming.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May not stay for the duration.
Oh,
That's okay.
Get ready for tomorrow.
They said they would stay.
Yeah, no.
All right, great to hear about Main Street. Moving on to 7B, update of the governor's budget.
Don't have the clicker.
Thank you, George.
I already do terrible with the clicker itself, but giving me the clicker. Okay, so the governor's budget, we all know, was released for 25-26 during the most devastating wildfires that we had in Southern California. With that, it's in its stability of resilience to protect California residents and the state economy. But that resilience is confronted by calls to expand essential services for schools in an increasingly unaffordable state. The governor proposes that the education budget that invests in our core and instructional learning. And it's very important that all of our Prop $98 are, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm thinking there's a bigger audience here today. I'm saying to protect all of our Prop $98 to ensure that we can provide the high quality education and services to our students that's much needed. So California economy is continuing to grow, but there's mixed signals. We still are seeing inflation, and on top of that, interest rates are slowing by the Federal Reserve, which is impacting our housing market. With that, our economy is increasingly uncertain, which is definitely a risk for our state budget for 25-26 as that continues. The governor does project about 17 billion in surplus for healthy reserves, which assumes a balanced budget that's steady, stable for national growth if that continues. One of the greatest risks of the California economy and the governor's budget assumption is the vulnerability of the impacts of the tariffs and the changing immigration policy. So that's something that a lot of us have been hearing, and it's a concern across the board. So with Prop 98, within the state's spending limit, Proposition 98 funding encumbers over half of the available revenue. With eliminating the resilience of one-time funding, which will help support the LCFF and other ongoing costs, provide significant one-time discretionary resources to help local LEAs with the rising cost of liabilities. And we'll talk a little bit about the discretionary block grant a couple slides down. The COLA will be fully funded in the estimates that the governor currently has. But we still must be mindful of the minimum funding obligation to public education every year, including 24-25. I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
always bad at.
We're a few guys. I noticed everybody.
It's hard because it's behind me and I'm going
Yeah.
forward here. It doesn't go, sorry. So continuing with Proposition 98, there's a little bit of sigh of relief because it contains fewer risks coming into 25-26 as in past years. Now it eliminates the reliance on one-time funding to help support LCFF and other ongoing costs, because we all know that all of the one-time funding that we previously received is coming to an end. And another good thing that the governor is doing, he's slowly replenishing Proposition 98 reserve for times of uncertainty, which is important. One thing that has been crucial to us is enrollment, declining enrollment, and it's also been a challenge across the state of California as well. But that's something that we know that it's been hitting hard for us. So again, another 50 students this year. Oops, and I think I'm a slide. There we go. Okay, now we're on the same page. So the big three taxes is something that we look at these updates, and you'll notice the governor's proposal is in green. You'll see LAO and the orangish color, and then blue is the enacted budget.
These are our big three drivers. And we'll notice that the governor, he's projecting that we're going to be receiving a little bit more in each category than the LAO. LAO is usually pretty conservative. But for instance, personal income tax is projected to be about 3.6 higher than forecasted at the enacted budget. And the corporate taxes look to be projected about 2.2% higher than the enacted budget. And just to give you an idea of what everything would look like. So if this budget does hold true, we do receive the 2.3% COLA, which originally in the active budget, it was projected to be 2.93%. So we're down about 0.5%. We're going to see another added $244 for TK through third grade, 247 4 through 6, and for 7 through 8 another $255. Another thing about the COLA, it is added to each additional line underneath that, so you'll see the grade span adjustment that has the COLA added to it compared to the 24-25 budget, along with the supplemental grant, which is 20% off of the base grant. We don't receive the concentration grant. We do not qualify. Our UP count isn't high enough to receive the concentration grant, but we do receive supplemental funding. Another one to note is the TK add-on. So that actually went up about $3,500 compared to last year, which is good. It's much needed because the ratio for TK is going to be going from 12-1 to 10-1 in a classroom. So that is going to be a great help for us. It's not going to solve the problems, but it will help. Trying to be positive.
Ray of light. Vested audience member.
Yeah. If it's just one person. So here's just kind of showing what the COLA and LCFF has looked like over the past few years. And so what we're going to be seeing now is we're going to start seeing the COLA normalize. We saw in 22-23, we had the big jump because of COVID and so forth. And then even in 23-24, we still saw the over the 8%, which was a huge COLA. And then for 24-25, it dipped down to 1%. So 2-3%, that's where it's kind of normalizing at. And that's usually kind of historically, it was usually around that area. So we're going to be starting to see more of that going forward. And again, due to, I know I always say this, but I think it's important, due to declining enrollment, that drops our ADA. So even though we're receiving a 2.3% or COLA, we're not going to recognize that full COLA because of our drop in ADA due to enrollment. So here's the discretionary block grant. Student support and professional development is the other name that it goes by. Now, this is proposed to be about $327 per ADA, which equates to us as we sit right now with what ADA looked like at P1. It could drop slightly because when you get into P2, we have a little bit of a shift. It looks to be about $460,000, give or take. That would be great. They're saying that this may not be as discretionary as the arts and music discretionary block grant that we had received. So that would be amazing if it stays that way. So we'll keep following up on this to see what the trailer bill finalizes as. But last I read it, they're saying that, again, it's not going to be as discretionary as it would seem. And this is just a flow chart of how our interims go and so forth, and what we expect to see from the budget from the governor's office. So late January, the Senate overview hearings, and then also the Assembly overview hearings, and winter, spring, late May, and then June, we'll receive the final enacted budget. And that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions or comments?
Thank you for putting this all together.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
I try, well, I try to make it so it's understandable because
thank you.
there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of items in there that, you can get too into the weeds and it can start getting a little confusing, so you're welcome.
No questions for me, but no. thank you.
Very
It's-
thorough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very helpful.
Okay. Thank you.
It could always be worse. Could be worse. We'll take it.
We could not have gotten that TK.
Yeah. I mean the news, not the presentation, of course, is what I mean.
I was
The budget news.
Thank you. There goes my overthinking. I was like, that could have gone either way. I was like, oh my gosh, like.
Talked about money coming in.
Yes.
All right, thanks. Moving on to 7B, 7C. Discussion regarding the fiscal prioritization team.
That's me too.
All right.
So we discussed the COLA, so the 2.43% COLA. We discussed as everything sits, what that would look like for us. It's about an $80,000 loss from the 2.93 to 2.43%. We talked about the decline in enrollment, the ADA, how everything's factoring in. And then the big thing that we need to tackle is the deficit, the 1.9, which is the unrestricted and restricted deficit combined. So what we decided is we need to come up with a target number. We didn't come up with a target number at this last meeting, but we have another meeting February 25th, and that's when we're going to come up with the target number. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and decide what areas that we can save on. We're going to come up with a plan, and so we can start executing that plan.
Questions or comments?
You mind just reminding like who's at the table in the FPT?
There is.
I mean, it can be positions, not people, like just in general, kind of who's on the team.
Principal, board member. We also have
Both labor president.
both labor presidents. And yeah, Scott, Jessica. Sorry, I didn't get the name. And I'm trying to think of who else.
Nice.
I think that's about it. Yeah.
Intentional and small. And just want to thank Allison for, it was a construct we had before she got here and she's taken it and run with it. And the idea is always to keep, these very complex budget, measures out of mystery land and have an informal place to come and talk about them with all the constituents. So thank you for taking that and running with it.
Yeah, it was a good meeting. All the information was well presented and felt like we did as much as we could.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and look forward to the 25th.
All right, moving on to the LCAP bite.
This is me, and this is just an update to the LCAP with regard to goal 1. And as the board knows, because you've seen the LCAP many times, we do call out very specific areas of interest for our populations. One specific that we called out in the LCAP this past year was related to Assembly Bill 130 that was signed by our governor related to early childhood education, specifically transitional kindergarten and public schools. And so we do have some actions and associated funding sources that are addressed in our LCAP that I wanted to give the board an update about tonight. So a couple of things that you might want to know. The first is that we do have a partnership with the County Office of Education, who has an additional TK grant. And so we're working with their money and our money, and we're teaming with 2 of the early childhood education specialists that they've brought in as liaisons, and they are Jenny Gorbach and Melanie Sluggett. One is very close to us and comes from the Live Oak area, and one is in Orinda, California. They came to us on January 6th for our PD day, and they worked with our TK and K teachers on learning through play. And they did a lot of work, kind of hands-on work But that was not the only work they were doing. They were doing work with the PTKLFs, which are the preschool transitional kindergarten learning foundations that were just published. And it's not short, is it? And so it really was important that we partner with professionals who could make all of that documentation meaningful and manageable for us to get started with. So we're really happy that we started our partnership with them. That partnership has extended to the TK planning team that I'm working on right now. I just wanted the board to see if you're interested in attending TKK sessions, professional learning sessions. We're going to be doing 4 this spring for TK and K teachers and administrators and board members who might be interested. So we're really going all in on supporting transitional kindergarten as an introductory grade to public education, and knowing that, you know, when kids are coming to us younger, they need different stuff, right? And so in that vein, we have worked with our TK teachers over the past couple of years to bring in materials and instructional resources for them. And that's not always easy because there's not a lot of TK published materials. And so in this district, some of the things that we've brought in are Haggerty, which is our reading foundations supplement. We have brought in Handwriting Without Tears, which is not new. I'm sure that many of you have heard that. There are TK preschool and kindergarten versions. We have brought in Bridges Math, which is a publisher that specializes in early childhood foundations in mathematics and counting collections. We've brought in We Say What's Okay books, which with the ADCL lens for TK students, like what is okay, like about how I feel or what's happening. And then we brought in the earliest version of the FOSS science. So we're really thinking about our TK students, our TK families and our TK staff, because this is just a really, it's a really nuanced change for public education. So the work that we're continuing to do in our district, I think is a good model. We were able to, on the PD day in January, bring in another district who wasn't offering TK PD. And so we said, we can partner and come on into our training. They will continue to partner with us. And we're really excited about having friends to do that dialogue with, because sometimes a TK teacher is maybe 1 at a school or 1.5 at a school. And there's, the high level of collaboration that's required to do something like this is all that much better when you have partners in neighboring districts. So I just wanted the board to know that we're on it, we're working at it. Still a lot of work to do, but I think our kids are doing great, our staff's doing great. And there's a lot of great research that says that kids who have been in TK just do better over time. And I think we can see that in some of the data that we look at too. So any questions?
I had a question about hours of school required for a TK, and then how we do that with because it's a shorter day, so then there's different start times and times, just how that flows for
TK and K are the same hours. So it's the same as we have had.
how many hours is that?
We have,
Not to put you on the spot, sorry.
like 5.5 hours of TK and K in our district. And we do that intentionally, so we have small group time on the front and back end of the day. And that's something that our staff has continued to feel confident about. We do know that there's some research that stands behind that, and some districts are going to a different hour of day. I was just talking to a colleague of mine in another neighboring district who went to a full day, and they are having some staffing issues with the full day, and they're having some family concerns about the full day. And so they have an option that they're going to be starting next year, so that if you're a TK parent, you can opt to have a shorter day or a longer day. That's an interesting thing that I've not heard before. So I think there's just a lot of discussion about what does the best day look like. for, you know, a person of this age, knowing that every person of that age is completely different, right? So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, and TK is only 4 years old, or do the
There,
are there ever 3-year-olds?
there can be a 47-month-old. That's the technical terminology. So
And is that
they turn 4 about a month into their first year of TK.
okay?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thought about it, but that's in my job, we call it the 47-month-old that starts TK.
I was just
We're
trying
a
to,
district that starts pretty early, so that impacts it.
yeah. I was just trying to remember napping and like when my kids stopped napping, but
15.
TK, I know.
I still want to nap.
Yeah.
I know, but TK is there, that's not part of the program. It's more school oriented towards,
I would say, I mean, yes, it's school, right? I
Yes.
mean, they're at school, there's, you know, we
Yes.
have credentialed teachers, we
Yeah.
have credentialed teachers that also have ECE units. That said, the PTKLS, the big framework that we're talking about. Yeah. Their encouragement is really learning through play and to really encourage creativity, collaboration, cooperation, all of those kinds of things as strong foundational skills for what will then be academics. And that's also, I think, how we model a lot of what we do anyway. So it's not something new to us, but it does not necessarily look like an academically rigorous day, even though there's a lot of those things that are happening. You know, they're doing a lot of learning through touching, negotiating. I mean, we've got a pro right here.
yeah.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, just whenever we get presentations, I try to imagine what it feels like for the student, like
Yeah.
what their day feels like,
Yeah.
but it's a different mindset, TK. I mean, we're just used to, you know,
Yeah.
K-8, so to just try to imagine how that little person is different and how we're meeting their needs and just
Yeah, I mean, and
thanks for fleshing that out.
yeah, I mean, and there's not a lot of wiggle room in that the expectation for a student in TK through 6th grade is that they have a 9-hour day, right?
Yeah,
Because that's what
that's
the
long.
ELOP is in there too, right?
right.
And so for some kids, while that's the state guidance, you know, it's also really hard to know.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Neat. Nope. Okay. All right, thanks for that. You don't want to add anything? No.
Just our day is a little bit of play, a little bit of work, a little bit of play.
Yeah.
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 And I would say my 2 kids are just super happy. And the family's so happy, and it's so nice to have them a part of the school community already.
Yeah.
And making those connections, the family's making connections with each other and the kids making connections.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild to think my one kid who did do TK is
Yeah.
7. You know,
Wow.
my 19-year-old, that was the first year that TK was offered, I think, in our district, when my 19-year-old was 4.
Wow.
Didn't opt in for that child, but yeah, I mean, it's a great program, and having been through it as a family at Oakville Cliffs, which was a lovely program, but I so appreciate, having it woven in to each school site so that, right, those families are part of the community, and the kids, you know, while they're out there playing by touching and observing the garden, you know, they also get that neat experience of seeing the older kids move about their business.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah. Oh. All right, moving on to 7F, board policy 1250, visitors and outsiders.
Thank you. So this policy is, all board policies are important. This one's important for many reasons, starting with school safety. Nothing more important than school safety. Also timely for many other reasons, just ensuring that access to our students on school campuses are monitored and secure. And so this is a board policy that's been in place. The recommended changes that are coming from CSBA tighten up the policy. So it tightens up the policy just by calling out that school visitors have to visit school in compliance with this board policy and compliance with our administrative regulation. And maybe that seems obvious, but before it wasn't called out. And so again, just in terms of tightening it up, the policy now calls that out. It calls out specifically that visitors have to arrange that visit with the principal or designee, but typically that's the principal, sometimes the front office, but that it can't be willy-nilly. It can't just be that I'm gonna come on campus today and, come visit classrooms without having set that up. For a lot of reasons, obviously, all of this always starts with safety. Also just with the organization of the school, that it's, if there's a planned visitor and it's appropriate, that everybody knows about that and what the purpose of that visit is. So doing it in a coordinated, organized way is better for the instructional program, also better for safety. And also the policy update accentuates that those who visit our schools have to conduct themselves in a respectful, orderly manner. So those are the key reasons for this update, and we just want to make sure that our campuses are always as safe as possible, and this falls in line with that.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, I overthought this and I sent Scott a long email, and when we have fencing, it's gonna really take care of people checking in.
Sure.
I just remember that, but I remember years ago, there was a county office educator director who wandered onto campus. I think she was there for a meeting. And I thought that was very disrespectful. You know, she should have gone into the office, and
Yes, they should.
other staff thought it was, they didn't think they were able to ask her to come, go in the office first. So anyways, that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, insurance safety, and I thought of putting SUESD staff. I mean, staff knows who staff is, and I'm sure people are reading this policy before they come on campus.
Yeah.
But I don't think we really will need that now, since when fencing is going to be coming up, we'll have fencing at the schools.
A lot of great points in there. One, the connection with Measure P and the ability to continually make the hard part of our campus, the physical part of our campus, have it better able to funnel people to the right place. Without getting too far ahead, since you brought it up, and it is connected to this board policy as part of Measure P. One thing that we'll be looking at, and we'll be asking for input from all folks that are directly impacted, especially our office staff, is what kind of new check-in system we might want to have, and leaning into technology, but making sure that we get input from the field, so we don't just buy the latest and greatest, but we buy something that will allow better, more efficient monitoring of who's on campus.
Well, I think
our folks, I want to say,
Vince,
definitely. I want to say our folks in the front offices are great about having sign-in books and knowing who's on campus, and the best way we can with those means available to us, adding in a technological piece will just make that even more efficient. So points well taken.
Yeah.
All of these things come together in the name
yeah.
of safety, right? And our administrative regulation also will spell out some more of the details, does spell out more of the details. One thing we always like to say, and we can communicate it more and more, is, like the power of hello to that person, whoever they were on campus.
Yeah.
Anybody, doesn't have to be the principal, can say, hey, hello, welcome to our campus. What are you here for today? And if that response is like, well, I'm here for such and such, but they didn't check in. Oh, let me direct you to the front office where we can check in and make sure that the front office knows that you're on campus, or maybe find out that they're there for a reason, that they're not supposed to be there for, and they can talk to the principal and set something up if it's appropriate. But looking for those ID badges, and for those folks that aren't recognized or don't have an ID badge, we'll take care of that.
Yeah.
But the power of hello is just addressing that, and that's anybody on campus. That doesn't have to be somebody in an administrative position. We all own that campus.
Right. I know some schools have unauthorized visitors are in violation of Penal Code 6.7 and will be punished, or however it is. I don't think
we definitely try to message that visitors have to check in and where the line is, and try to do that in a very clear, direct, yet somewhat friendly way.
It's definitely low tech, but the stickers where a person writes their name, do all schools use that kind of simple visual? I think it's an effective.
I think if all schools
simple
do.
thing.
Main Street do. If I can
Main
ask you.
Yeah,
I think that's
I'm always signing in.
I know
and get the
SoCal does.
sticker.
Diana will not let you get through there if you don't have.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I always found that super helpful.
Yeah,
Too, like,
so
you know, I
visual.
love the stickers,
You
or
checked
some
in.
that had like a big old apple, and I'm like, oh, you see the apple still, okay. You're good. Yeah.
Life Touch sends them to us for free.
For free.
so,
Ah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the apple? Or is it different?
Whatever one. they send.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Pencil.
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Right. All right,
Thank you.
yeah. 7G, discussion regarding board policy 3100 budget.
Okay, so this one, I just had a couple updates on it. There was nothing redacted. And this has to do with everything from budget development, timelines, compliance, criterias and standards and so forth. So if you look at, because you have a hard copy, if you look on page 2 under budget criteria and standards, the verbiage was added in italics. Additionally, the district budget shall provide for increased or improved services for each school which generates LCFF equity multiplier funding, education code 4223.024 52064. So that's one change. And then the only other change on here would be page 3 towards the bottom. So under long-term financial obligations, paragraph 2, right after it says CalPERS, you'll see the italics. It says our other defined pension plans such as California State Teachers Retirement System. We added that so it represented both unions in writing. One thing I do want to add though, looking at this, being that CalPERS is in parentheses, I also want to add CalSTRS, the abbreviation as well. So we'll bring it back with CalSTRS. And that was the only, those were the only two changes to this one.
Questions or comments?
When do we do the budget? When
So
does this come up?
for the 25-26 budget, it has to be approved and to board by July 1st. So it usually comes the first meeting of June and then for public review, and then the second meeting of June, it's adopted.
We don't get an extra month.
That would be nice.
I thought it was August or something. I don't. Or July, yeah.
That's why our June meetings are always like so
I
much
know,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, LCAP and
You're probably
budget.
thinking,
It always-
you're probably thinking an audited actual.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I got confused there.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for that. 7H, board policy 6142.92, mathematics instruction.
Okay, great, thank you. So this policy has been in existence for quite some time. It's a very short policy. The only changes on there are additive. The changes incorporate the 2023 mathematics framework goal of removing barriers for students in mathematics for success for all. So you'll see in paragraph 2 on the suggested change language to the board policy, that second paragraph in really talks about lessons that are relevant to students, and that's something that we talk about with our culturally responsive teaching and the framework that we are doing, and taking a look at our diverse population, English learners, students who are at promise. And while that's not a term that we commonly use in this district, it is a commonly used term in the state of California, because we don't use at risk, we're using at promise. And so advanced learners are also included, in students with learning disabilities. So really it really is trying to inform the policy to be more inclusive in nature. The next change that's substantial, which is not really substantial, is in the third paragraph underneath the number section. And that just talks about the multiple pathways that are offered for students. Because there has been a lot of talk about single pathways or tracked pathways and things like that, and looking for alternatives to that. So those are the only changes that were suggested by CSBA, and they are incorporated here.
Great. Questions or comments from the board?
The policy as it is already in effect.
Correct.
Right? And the policy is different but related to the task force. Right, so
The policy isn't related to the task force, it's related to what we do. And what we do is, it incorporates and is in response to the 2023 framework.
Okay.
That makes sense.
yes, I guess I'm asking more broadly about just kind of all our math initiatives.
The state of California has a focus on math. It's not just been, right, it's not just been recently, right? The California framework for math has been written, rewritten, and edited over the course of many years in the state of California, finally being published in 2023. Once it was published, the California educators responded to the framework by saying, let's understand the framework, what stands behind the framework. Joe Bowler, who was a major contributor in writing the math framework, is a very renowned math specialist, and educator. And so what we can see in that framework is really strong and solid math teachings that include big ideas, social justice through mathematics as a right for all people. And so it doesn't change the standards. What it changes is the way in which we teach math with those bigger things in mind. And so it doesn't necessarily, that doesn't change our policy. This piece just influences our policy to say, we have to think broader about the students that we're serving when we're doing those things.
And are we seeing, do we have any like anecdotes or any feedback for how that change and how we're approaching these big ideas and how we're teaching math, how that is happening and coming across in the classroom?
Yeah, I mean, I think all educators in the state of California are just now understanding the framework, right? Because it was published, county offices of education started kind of thinking about how they wanted to respond to their constituency groups. So our county specifically they partnered with PEBC, which is, like Scott talked about and Craig talked about. We have math leadership teams that participate in training at the county level with those partners to train a core group of teachers and administrators in our district to build out our understandings of math. What we've done from there is we've partnered with a specific coach, Emma Ershaw, and she works with those teams to do lab classroom visits. So we study classroom practice and come back and say, oh, this is what social justice looks like when it's taught through the math framework. And let's talk about how we can build our understanding of that and then lead that into how we can lean into another classroom teacher, another classroom practice in order for that to proliferate. So I know it sounds like it's super slow, but it's very methodical. So not sure if that completely answered it. Like, yes, we're looking at what happens in classrooms every day.
Yeah.
But building our knowledge around these big ideas and all of the things that the framework includes and the multiple hundred pages that it exists, just takes time.
I have a few more questions on math, but maybe it's a little sideways. So if others have questions on the policy.
No, because I mean, yeah, just policy language itself makes sense. The changes make sense, and it seems as though, right, policy is the broad overview, and then specific programs, from what we've learned from you, feel to me like they're in alignment with the policy. So no questions from me.
Okay.
I have a question on math intervention, which may be, maybe better suited for another, like diving into it, but I would love to know more about math intervention and how we identify kids for it and sort of what that program looks like, and then what we're seeing in terms of the progress for those kids, or those kids showing different growth and improvement. So.
We could definitely add that as a presentation or a discussion item. I'm happy to talk about any content you like.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about math and math intervention.
I'm interested too. Okay, when it's convenient.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
Great. Moving on to action items. 8A, consider accepting the annual fiscal audit of 23-24.
Okay,
I'm just kidding, yeah.
I'm
Sorry.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
No.
Now that our 20,
Yeah.
okay. So now that our 23-24 audit has been completed, we have Paul Pham from Siobhan and Associates that'll go over the highlights of our audit and answer any questions that anyone may have.
Great, thank you.
Paul.
All right, thank you, board. Thank you, Superintendent, for inviting me out to share with you the results of the June 30th, 2024 audit. All right, get my notes up here in a second. Okay, so what I'd like to do is start out, talk to you about some of the auditing standards that we followed for our audit. Talk a little bit about our audit process, and then I'll get into some of the key financial highlights for the year. Feel free to jump in and ask questions along the way. And then in the end, I'll go into the audit results and then open up for any last questions you might have. So the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, they put out statements of auditing standards, which we utilize in our audits, and the school district being a local government, the Government Accountability Office, they also put out governmental auditing standards that we utilize in our audit of the district. Whenever the district expends more than $750,000 in federal awards, they're subject to uniform guidance or a single audit, which is outlined in what's known as a uniform guidance. It's an audit supplement that we utilize in the audit of your federal programs. So this last year, we selected the ESSER program as our major program for auditing. And then lastly, the state controller's office has a little kind of sub-department called the Education Audit Appeals Panel. And they put out a audit guide every year for us to use in the audit of your state programs. And this last year was quite a doozy. A lot of new programs, after school programs, the music programs, transportation. So quite a bit there this last year. So I want to thank Allison and her team, helping us through all that, and the district as a whole, because it's not just the business department to make all this happen. So it's a lot of work, asking for a lot of new things that we've never asked for before. So thank you for that help. So if there aren't any questions, I'll get right into the numbers. All right, so I'll reference you. Well, actually, if you should I put it up?
Yeah, sure. George.
Get the PDF. I can reference you to certain pages and follow along. Okay, so I'm going to.
I think we may need to. You want George to put it up on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Can you summons?
Please.
I'm just curious while we're waiting, how many districts a year do you work on?
Quite a bit. We've grown quite a bit this last year. Our team's grown. I think because we do a lot of local governments, so special districts and stuff like that, and then nonprofits, which include like charter schools. So
Okay.
we're just about over 100 in total. Majority of that is school districts and charter schools.
How many on your team?
We're about 20, including our admins and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I text them.
No, I can probably put it up there.
Okay.
Let's just do that.
And if you have copies, you can just, okay, if you have copies, I'll just continue then. Okay, so I'm on page 9. This is the table 1 summary of statement net position. So what you'll see here is in the very bottom line is that net position did go up $1.5 million up to just under 27 million.
We're good. Okay.
Yeah, we're fiscal stand. Yeah. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
For the next few years.
Yeah. And so what you also see on this page is if you look at the current
Page
assets.
98 of the
No,
document?
page 9.
but on the document.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a
It's- you're
report
looking for-
page 9.
What
so-
page? Yeah.
I think it's 98 on
Thank
the
you.
document, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Nothing like a, what, 150, 200 page PDF, right?
Yeah, they go way through it, sorry.
So the district as a whole.
There you go. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, yes.
All right, so what you see is the current assets went down, and current assets going down. Actually, if you also see current liabilities went down. So what that is, you're spending cash on your construction projects, and you're also paying down your current liabilities. So that's expected for your cash to go down. Capital assets, even though you see that it went down, it's kind of deceptive because that's depreciation in there. So you did have a lot of projects in construction that the cost of the assets did go up. Depreciation brought it down, so you have a net of 94 there. So it actually did go up in terms of what you did for the year. All those other lines in between, your deferred outflows, your long-term liabilities, your deferred inflows, most of that is going to be the adjustments from your GASB 68 and GASB 75, which are related to your pension, your PERS and STIRS, and then your OPEB. So if you look at it, the net of all those changes is pretty minimal comparatively. So most of that is just you're doing a lot of capital projects in there. So if I can reference you to report page 10, table 2, which you're on, you see that grants went down. So like the program revenues went down, the grants and entitlements went down. That was expected. A lot of that one-time COVID funding went away. So, the revenue is going to go down as you would expect there. Then on page 13, table 4, this is really what you care about, right? From everything we've talked about in the statement of position and stuff like that, it has to do quite a bit with some of your long-term assets and your long-term liabilities. In the funds, this is where you operate day to day, budget wise, year to year. So what you see here is fund balance overall did go down slightly, 267,000. Capital facilities and the county school services fund, those went down again. That's expected. You were spending some of those fund balance on the capital projects you had. One other thing I wanted to point out is the non-major funds went up 1.2. So a big part of that is a prior period adjustment that we made related to your special reserve fund. And that's it's one of the findings that we'll get into at the end in our audit results. But a big part of that is a $944,000 prior period adjustment. So it's extra cash you guys have. So that's a good thing. I mean, it went in the right direction. More money than you realized you had. And then so the general fund you see did go down 342,000 there. And again, that's just spending down a lot of those grant monies that from the COVID funding that you guys hadn't completely spent down from the previous years. If I could get you to page 77 of the report. And so when you get there, what you're going to see on this page is known as a financial trends analysis. And it covers a 3-year analysis of the general fund. Okay. Just one more page. There we go. All right. So here you go. So you see over the last 3 years, the general fund actually did go up. So it went up 1.3 million over the last 3 years, except this last year had that slight decrease as we just discussed. But overall, still a very healthy reserve. You have 15%, which is excellent for a district of your size. You guys were talking a lot about budget tonight. You see the 2025 budget column, you are expecting some decreases. And Scott, if you can scroll around just a little bit more. And so a big part of that is you were budgeting declining enrollment as of the P2 last year. So that's what you see there. And yeah, that's it. That's it for the numbers. If you don't have any questions on the numbers, I can go into the results. Okay. So on page, let's see, 94, I believe it is. Give me a second to get there. Okay, yeah, page 90, please. Yeah, there you go. So when it comes to the financial statements, we did issue a modified opinion, and it's a material weakness. So if you could go to page 91, please. So here, this is in regards to the money that the district got. It got deposited by the county without the district's knowledge. This happened in previous periods. So it's not with this current team that you guys have. But we found it this year. You guys have it. It's a good thing. Now you know you've got this funding to use. So not a bad finding to have, I guess. But that's what that's related to. And when it comes to compliance and stuff like that, we didn't have anything in our testing procedures that were required to be disclosed to the district in terms of the state and federal programs that you guys ran. So we had no significant unadjusted adjustments, no difficulties during our audit, no disagreements with management, and no lack of a going concern, which means that, like you said, you have the doors open for the next couple of years.
Yes.
So this 943, is that just unrestricted funds? Like what? Like you just have another $1 million?
State matching funds. It was deposited into a totally different account that wasn't even active with the district.
Yeah, it wasn't a fund that you guys had, so it wasn't something that you guys monitored, but the county put it there, so yeah.
But
Yeah.
So it's facilities, it's not, we can't just use. it
Yeah.
for agenda
Yeah, sorry,
conditions.
state matching funds for facilities, sorry.
Okay.
Can we do a thorough sweep in case there's a few more of these?
Yeah, no, we did.
That's a nice little windfall.
Yeah, so it's part of the state matching funds that we already received, the Scott's Fund, the field, the field. Yeah.
So that's all I have. Again, thank you for all the help.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for
then
the good report.
just that word material weakness, could you explain that?
So the idea of internal controls is that you guys have policies and procedures in place where the individuals performing that duty, say accounts payable person, right, is able to catch and fix a misstatement in a timely manner. So depending on how prevalent the issue is, or how if there are other compensating controls around the process, it can rise to the level like a material weakness or significant, as opposed to a significant deficiency. So it's just a different level of how bad the internal controls are. So in this particular case, it's a material number, and the process was, and our recommendation is to do thorough reconciliation of the cash and count. So typically, cash and count is pretty low risk. I mean, this one of the, I don't think I've ever seen a findings like this. I mean, there's some we've been finding some weird findings, but to find extra money, that
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no findings are
Nice
great,
work.
but
Yeah.
finding money is
Great
okay,
job.
for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, it was deposited into a Fund 40 that the district hasn't used. So,
Yeah. Yeah, how do you know if it's not a fund that you're? But there are now
yeah,
procedures in
Yes,
place to
absolutely.
ensure it doesn't happen again, but we'll take the money, okay?
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all your work.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you.
We need to take.
That was very, very impressive, and it's way over my head. And I think of the contrast of the military budget that takes about half of our tax dollars, and the funds disappear and they go to kill people. And I remember the bumper sticker I had on my car. It'll be a great day when the schools have all the money they need and the Air Force has to have a bake sale. to
I
buy
love
a
that
bomber.
one. I do. That's a great one.
That was
All
a
right,
good one.
moving on to voting, right? Yeah, and it's not a resolution. So do I have a motion on that item?
Thanks, Paul.
I'll make the motion to accept Soquel Union Elementary School District's report, annual fiscal audit for 23-24.
All right, a second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Moving on to the consulting agreement with District Advocates Group Urban Futures.
Okay, so this request is for District Advocates Group, Division of Urban Features, and they provide administrative support to staff. So they would help with managing schedules, budgets, processes, and communications for building projects, i.e. for us, it would be Measure P, the bond. When you take on such a big bond project, it often adds a ton more work and like how to laugh. And in efforts, you know, to be mindful of the business office staff, we are looking, considering this agreement because this would be a great help for the business office staff. Another way that districts sometimes go, they'll go with the project manager. However, that can be like 3-4% of your bond dollars. So we were wanting to do something like this in effort to maximize our bond dollars for what we really need it for, which is a modernization of our facilities and so forth. So going with an agreement like this would be very beneficial all the way around.
If I can just piggyback on your great lead-in, Allison, I just wanted to introduce Brett McFadden, who's here with us tonight. He is from DAG, but probably even more importantly in my mind is a very well-known and respected former assistant superintendent of business, chief business official, well-known around the county and has been through many of these kind of cycles, bond project cycles. And so besides all the great things Allison said, will just be a great level of expertise to lean into. So he's here tonight to answer any questions if he can. Thanks for making the trek out here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we saw you at CSBA.
Yeah.
That's right. Get over here and serve.
Well, I don't have to go far. I live in Aptos. 10-minute drive.
That's right.
Questions or comments? I'm sorry, is that where you're about to stop?
No.
Remind me, this is not construction management, right? Or like, I'm thinking back, is this what Kramer did, or this is more what ISOM did, or a beautiful
I
marriage?
think that's a great question, and it might be something Brett can fill us
Yeah.
in more. I'll give my layperson, and then you detail. It's somewhere in the middle,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so what Allison referred to is those really kind of heavy duty project manager, like what we had with Kramer at that
Yeah.
time,
Yeah,
which depending on the nature of the projects may or may not be necessary.
right,
We're not building two-story buildings this
Right.
time. We're doing modernization.
yeah.
But then, so that's here,
Mhm.
doing nothing is just gonna overload or
Right.
already over. So I think this fills maybe where there was a gap in programs before. So I don't know if that.
Described it perfectly.
Okay.
So, and for the record, I'm Brett McFadden, and I'm the managing principal for the District Office Group, which is a division of ISOM Advisors. And so as another background resident of the Santa Cruz County for a long time, and served as a CBO and assistant superintendent at Pajaro Valley for a number of years, and currently live in Aptos and such. So the vernacular is important. That's a great question. So we do not provide construction management services. So we're not the hard hat in the trailer, so to speak. So we are assisting district staff, and as your CBO alluded to, we are an extension of your executive staff for the overall management and coordination of the bond program. With that, now follow with me is a team of experts in the area of school construction. So cost estimators, schedulers, project overseers, project managers, even in certain cases as well. We stand out though in I'd say 2 ways. Number one, we're educators. So I spent 27 years as an educator. Got my start I came up the classified side, and I got my start as a custodian, working my way through college, and finished as a superintendent of a high school district.
Right on.
So yeah, it was a cool trajectory. But we're led by individuals that had successful careers as education practitioners. And so we come with an education instructional lens, but with expertise in school construction. And what we're proposing to you tonight that's very different than that of other construction firms or program management firms who will charge you a percentage of program or percentage of the issuance, percentage of project costs. We charge a fixed fee. We started this business a little over a year ago, and to fundamentally change how bond program management is provided in the state to school districts with an education and instructional lens first, and then transparency and accountability. So we don't have an incentive to extend a project. We don't have an incentive to stretch the timeline. Our incentive is to help you lead your Measure P program in an effective and efficient manner to capture your program funds as quickly as possible and put those into projects, and not to extend that over time. So we'll be proposing, we'll hit the ground running tomorrow with your staff and proposing a very, what I'll call aggressive strategy to implement your program over time in a quick fashion time, because we're very concerned about what's happening in the construction industry throughout the state. So just in the last 2 months, since I had the opportunity to spend some time with you at the CSBA conference, we've just seen devastation in the Los Angeles Basin area, which is having a tremendous impact on the construction industry. We're in this tariff on, off situation. And that is creating a lot of concern. So already we have seen just in the last 2 months an increase in overall construction prices, as well as significant lead time to get things like doors, equipment, HVAC equipment and such. So we want to be judicious about how we go about executing your program so that your bond dollars get into classrooms and modernize your campuses as quick as possible.
What's your relationship to the construction folks that we're hiring for all this? How do you interact with them?
That's a wonderful
Who
question.
takes the leads on projects and who really starts this ball rolling and make sure it's going? Yeah,
that's a great question. So just as ISOM Advisors serves as your fiduciary, we have the same relationship. We are your fiduciary when it comes to advising you on construction management and program management overall. We have no economic ties to any particular construction firm, contractor, software systems, or anything like that. So we make recommendations that are based on what the district's current needs are and what's best for you. And so our fundamental responsibility is to not only help you oversee the program, but also do so in the most cost-effective manner possible. The second part of your question is who leads this program. I'm an advocate as a former superintendent, CBO. This is your bond program. You control it. We will serve you. And if you want, this might not be a great analogy, but if you want a turkey sandwich with provolone cheese and it's compliant, it's according to law, and it's effective, we will help to get that for you. We'll oversee on your behalf and at your instruction certain tasks, procurement, for instance. If you are looking to procure certain services, we'll help to oversee that, but we will work closely with your superintendent, with your chief CBO, to make sure that we are acting in a manner that is authorized, either pursuant to the board or pursuant to your CBO or superintendent. In that.
Will you have oversight over the construction, the people who are actually doing the work? Will you be involved in purchasing and ordering and figuring out the logistics of all that?
We will advise, though, but it's important that under California law is that any direct oversight of any sort of contract or anything, you have to be appropriately licensed. That would be either your architect or your general contractor with that. Now, we were acting as owners, were able to interface with them, and also they'll be able to oversee their work and instruct them according to district instructions and district directives.
You'll have a office on site, right?
I'm sorry?
Are you gonna have an office on site?
We can, yes, we can do that, yes. So we have offices nearby. So our offices, I have a home office, obviously, in Aptos, and we have offices throughout the state as well.
Is this you or is this somebody else at the company?
You will see me. I will be the point of contact between DAG and the school district. At certain times, some other members of our staff, depending on the project or and their skill sets and such, will be involved with it, be doing so under my authority and my direction.
Is this for all bond projects, the fields and the building upgrades and?
Yes, the contract is inclusive of all elements of Measure P. But the board you retain the authority over the bond program. So if you want our services to be emphasized in one area over the other, we will certainly be able to do that. But the contract we've drafted for you and working with your superintendent is all inclusive. And then the contract also includes a scope of services. And we also recognize, though, the bond program is dynamic. It will change. It's complex. if you think passing a bond is difficult, running one is 5 times harder, and running it well to do that. So we recognize that over time, some services will be occurring where others won't because of just the dynamic and ebbs and flows of a bond program. And there may need to be a change in what type of service that you need. One thing we're proud of is when we created this firm by educators is we offer a complete realm in bond program management realm of the A through Z. So obviously experience in cost accounting, controls, value-added systems, constructability, but also on the other side too, assisting the superintendent CBO if you need to write a Friday letter or you need to do some sort of presentation to a community member. We also are skilled in communications to constituents, very skilled in helping to facilitate community engagement and partner engagement in projects as well.
Yeah, I think what we kind of started with, either Allison or Scott, just this idea of it's the scope of what's needed to run a bond program is like far beyond what we can ask district staff to do while we're also in our regular incredibly important and full job of educating our students and taking care of our staff and our entire community. And so to me, one of the things that we bake into the budget when we go out for a bond is knowing like we're going to have these costs for the services to actually run it. And end up being very important time and cost saving measures to have doing this type of work. So
Right. So it's like
Makes
you've been
sense
through
to
this
me.
cycle before.
and that sounds, I appreciate like the explanation, like it's a little twist on how we did things last time, but it makes good sense because of the program we're running. And this is a different offering from ISOM, who was a trusted partner for us. So sounds good to me.
Other questions or comments?
I think I got my questions answered.
All right.
I like the contract too. I mean, it sounds like there's options. If this doesn't work out, then it wouldn't, but it seems like it's well thought out.
I appreciate you saying that. We learned through our own experiences as a CBO in my first bond was Measure L in Pajaro Valley. And so we learned things, and I learned things through that. And the one thing is getting locked in a contract that takes 6 months to get out, and you lose all that time. So as I said, when we created this firm, we wanted to fundamentally change the space when it came to bond program management for schools. And so we designed it in a way that of things that we wanted as practitioners and things that we did not want, that we were stuck with.
Great. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for that.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, this is an action item. Do I have a motion?
I forgot the name of it, but
I got it here. I will. Oh, you both comment?
When you have public comment on it, go ahead.
Oh, that's part of this process?
It's an action item. I mean, in general.
Oh.
Public comment on any.
Okay. All right,
Yeah,
public comment
On this specific item.
on this specific item.
Yeah. I was looking in your thicker document with the agenda and I couldn't find this 8B to see what Urban Futures is. I don't have any background on it. I wanted to know more. And then also approval of consulting agreement. What is the amount of money involved in this? It seems like that should be disclosed here. And the other question is this type of skill you need for what you plan to do to modernize, is that available within your district personnel instead of hiring consultants? So those are some of my questions. And how do you define modernization? I often think they're doing broadband, Wi-Fi, antennas, more communication that's toxic. And that seems like contrary to educational goals to benefit the children. So what is the amount here, please?
All right. Is this, who answers this?
Oh, I mean, it's listed in the board memo and it's listed in the proposed contract itself, so. It's listed as up to $190,000, I believe.
That's what I read.
Yeah. So, I mean,
$190,000.
and I think the question about, internal staff capacity, we have an amazing internal staff. Their plates are full and fuller, and so wanting to make sure that we optimize every bond dollar. So that it doesn't drag on and have escalated costs. It's not that they're not capable, it's just that they're additive projects. So I think that question was answered in the presentation.
Yeah, all that was put together in the presentation.
And looking at exhibit A, you can see all the detailed work that they're proposing, which seems pretty important. All right, are we ready for a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consulting agreement with District Advocates Group, a division of ICE for Urban Futures.
All right, a second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Approved. Next, 8C, consider approving the agreement with the construction inspector, Alito Construction Inspections for the turf.
Okay, so this is to continue our progress with the New Brighton Field. DSA does require us to hire inspector of record. We have brought Elioto to the board before for other construction projects we've had, and they've always done a great job for us. And so for the field project, they have a do not to exceed of $52,000 to be our inspector of record.
Maybe we should table this and make Mr. Alioto sit through a board meeting.
We could.
He's watching too.
Sure.
Just kidding, Rod.
Questions or comments from the board?
No, I see that the project requires
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So this is not an option. This is,
Yeah.
we need to have an
Yeah.
inspector.
Yeah, DSA definitely
We have-
requires it.
Designated bond funds to pay for the.
Did we get
This-
bids for this job?
For this one, no, and this one we don't have to. However, we did make sure that we did get the best price from them. We even contacted them and made sure that he checked all his P's and Q's and so forth, so.
Well, he's worked with us too.
And he's worked with
before.
us, yeah.
He knows district.
I mean, so we got the best price from him, but did we reach out to a second or a third option just to see what the market would bear?
In this instance, we didn't, because we have worked with them in the past.
And what did we do with them in the past?
He worked on, I believe it was the solar. Cause you always did, DSA always requires that we have an inspector of record for any construction project that we do. So, so he's very familiar with the district.
We did the other bond projects too, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
How much was, do you recall how much that was, how much his fee was on it?
no, I,
She wouldn't have been there at the
Yeah.
time. I don't remember.
sorry,
I
yeah.
mean, there is a going
Inflation,
rate,
yeah.
not to minimize, I understand the question, but like expediency and knowledge of the person's work and everything is also baked into that equation, and we want to get shovels in the ground over there. So this is somebody that we know can do the work and does it at a fair rate.
I was just curious, how do we know it's
Yeah.
fair rate? That's all we only.
It
will
looks
ask
very
one
fair to
person.
me. I mean.
50
other
grand.
Projects, yeah.
That's fair to you,
Oh, yeah.
because you're an expert.
No, I'm not an expert, but I've seen this before. It could be more.
Okay,
And he does do work around the county too, for other districts too. He's utilized, not just with our district, but other districts in the county.
I think. Just in the future, just ask 2 people or something like that, just so we get an
Well,
idea.
there are processes, I mean, obviously there's threshold where you have to go out to informal or formal bid, right? This doesn't meet that threshold, so, There are times where staff has to make a decision and make a recommendation based on their knowledge of having, previous work experience
Just the
and everything.
request.
Yeah.
And
I think it's prudent to ask more than one person and just see what's happening out there.
Right. And I just answer that question and let you know there are thresholds where you have to do that. This doesn't meet that
And I
threshold.
totally understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, in my humble opinion, I think it's prudent to get more than one bid for something like this.
Okay.
Not that, well.
Are these the kinds of questions you bounce off the consultant for bond projects? If you had as an experienced person, Sarah, if you had, or if it was something for some reason you had less experience with it, like this, is this the kind of thing you can bounce off Brett or his team and say, hey, gosh, there's someone we really trust. This is the rate. Does that seem,
oh, absolutely.
even
Yeah.
with what you hear from other folks?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, and I would do that.
would work too.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
For already paying somebody
For
190,
somebody,
Let's put them to work.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That was a great question. And yes, we would definitely do that.
All right. May I have a motion on this item?
Randy, we might have a comment.
Oh, public comment.
I called for an immediate halt to this. This should be rescinded. And I'll tell you why. I didn't bring literature on it, but I have it. The problems with the artificial turf are it's toxic. And I'm reminded of the book called Toxic Sludge is Good for You. And the subtitle is Lies, Damn Lies, and the Public Relations Industry. And these firms, in their own words, they say the purpose of their communication is to manage perceptions, to motivate behavior, to create business results. And that's what we have here. Maybe 25 years ago, Mission Hills Junior High had discussions and put in artificial turf. My friend lived across the street. The odor was horrific. Her child who went to the school came home with particles of this on it. It contaminates the water. It's petrochemicals. It heats up to such a temperature the kids can't play on it. It seeps into the groundwater. I had a friend who played soccer, and he would prefer to play on natural grass fields because statistically there are more injuries on this artificial turf. I think you need to look at this and rescind it. And also, historically, they've had to remove these fields once they put them in. So this is a hazard for the students and the environment. And we hear over and over again how great it is. But the reality is, it isn't. So that's what I'm calling you to do. This is very, very serious. Higher injuries, MRSA developing. If I had known that's where on the agenda, I would have brought it, but I stayed this late because I want to see a disaster prevented. Now, you can always say, we need to look at this. This is a problem instead of pursuing it ahead. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. We definitely spent a lot of time deciding about materials, and this has been in process a long time. But thanks for your comments. Do we have a motion on the table?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve agreement services with the construction inspector with Alioto Construction.
All right, the second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to the resolution to authorize participation in the zero emission school bus and infrastructure incentive project.
Okay, so we submitted the application in hopes that it would get approved. So we did get approved for part A. So now part B is bringing the resolution to the board and continuing the process. So we're happy that we're approved for part A. So we're going to continue the process and keep our fingers crossed that we are able to get another bus. So that would be amazing.
What is part A?
It's basically the application. So you submit the application, they review it, they see if we qualify based on their guidelines. If we do, then we're moved to part B.
Oh, I see.
So yeah.
And B is infrastructure?
It's B is the second phase of the approval process.
Okay.
We haven't gotten anything yet, but we've been moved forward.
Yeah. 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 And keep our fingers crossed that we're able to get one.
We got one grant.
We'll take one at a time.
Is there anything we need to do for part B, or it's
It's just to adopt the resolution.
just to adopt the
Mhm.
resolution? Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Who fills out all the paperwork? Is that you that does all this? Or
Pam and I,
Okay.
Pam and I work on it together.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's great work.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
for all your efforts. I
Thank
know
you.
this
Well,
is
she,
above and beyond, and writing grants is incredibly difficult to
Well, that's true.
access to, yeah.
you know, to be honest with you, she does most of it, so. we'll help out.
Thank you, Pam.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Pam.
Thank you, Pam.
Yeah.
All right, questions or comments? No? Do we have, this is a resolution roll call. Questions from the public? Yeah, or comments?
So the zero emission buses are electric, right? And it's just been in the news about the lithium batteries in these vehicles. In fact, I don't know if it was in Massachusetts, but in the last week, some of these buses caught on fire. This is serious. I'm not making this up. Just because something's popular and repeated over and over again as being wonderful doesn't mean it is. It's important to be critical and to do what's actually safe for the kids. Look it up. I don't want to see more of these lithium battery fires from multiple sources, which are just multiplying. We've all been poisoned by the Moss Landing lithium battery fires, the whole Pajaro Valley. People getting sick, tasting a metallic taste, lots of toxic chemicals. Zero emission bus and infrastructure is more of this damage. People want a solution to certain problems, and if there's something that is offered that is hazardous and not really a solution, no one with any common sense or intelligence or ethical values should go along with that. I urge with this not participating in such a thing because we don't want lithium bus fires. You can look at me like I'm crazy, but examine the literature. Thank you.
All right, thanks for that comment. Any discussion from the board?
Well, you know, it happens, like she says, but diesel buses also explode too. And, you know, they're more likely to, you know, have a fire than the EVs. The EVs are just getting bad press right now because of Moss Landing. That's not, you know, saying that it's right, but actually diesel buses are more likely to explode than the EV buses.
All right, thanks for that. This is a resolution, so we start with a motion and then go to a resolution. So may I have a motion, please?
I will make the motion to adopt the resolution to authorize participation in the zero emission school bus and infrastructure incentive.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Edmondson,
Aye.
trustee Gray,
Aye.
trustee Donnelly,
Aye.
trustee Jackson Miller,
Aye.
trustee Dickinson, Me, no.
All right. Motion passes. Consider 8E, consider the bid contract for ITM.CX, the E-rate category. Good night. Of network electronics.
Okay, so E-rate is something we bring every year to the board. This year, we went out for bid for network switches, upgraded Wi-Fi systems that allow us to take advantage of our updated 10 gigabyte fiber connections, battery backups for our network cabinets.
Sorry, we need a stretch break.
Okay.
Is it the 10 p.m. rule? No, it's only,
it's only 9.
It just feels them.
We're advancing.
We're in the home stretch, guys.
And this is like the trifecta, right?
Yeah. Sorry, it's been a really long day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I really apologize.
Are we good?
I don't apologize.
No.
Like Mary Poppins start floating in the sky.
All right,
Okay.
now it's this whole table.
Okay, so sitting across from the both of you though, like totally laughing, trying to hold it in was classic. Okay, so where did I leave off? Oh, I was explaining what
Batteries.
what we yes, there is battery backups on here.
E-rate.
Yes, E-rate.
Thank you.
What we went out for. So it was network switches, upgraded Wi-Fi that allow us to actually fully utilize our 10 gigabyte fiber that we went on board with last year, and battery backups for our our network cabinets. There was one, we had 2 bidders, and one of which was that we went with was the ITM. And the reason why we went with them is they actually bid the comparable brands that we requested that we know are compatible with our system, and their price came in better as well. So based on that criteria is why we went with ITM. Now, something I would like you guys to keep in mind is although the E-rate pays 50% of any of these services that we have requested on this bid, which, could be around about $100,000. Some of this stuff we may do in the bond, so that way we're not touching the general fund. So if we can use bond dollars versus general fund dollars, we will do that. So, and E-rate is aware of that. We talked to them prior to, finalizing the bidding process and so forth to make sure that that was okay if we enter an agreement with them, and they said that that is okay. So I just want everyone to know I have that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Questions or comments?
I like your thinking. That's a good point.
I like the comparison of the two and the numbers assigned to each, and 97 is better than 82.
If everything's just so black and white.
And
There's your intervention right there.
we came full circle.
Yeah, we did.
And who have we had in the past? Was it the Accelerate?
No, it wasn't Accelerate. To be honest with you, I'm not sure who it was in the past. It was a year before I came on board, so I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. All right. If there's no more questions or comments, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to consider for the approval of the bid contract from ITM.CX for the E-rate category 2 network electronics.
All right, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Correspondence, I've made a note of future agenda items, a presentation on math intervention. And then we have the students experience. I wanted to say the students experiencing homelessness, that's going to be coming up in Carissa's
Yeah.
in Carissa's presentation, so it's marked and,
Unhoused? Were we?
Those experiencing homelessness, yes.
yeah, so anyway, it's coming up. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
A second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Ooh. Yay.
Opposed.